You can't handle the truth. How you doing, everybody? This is a real Marine Corps drill instructor hat. Okay, I thought it was very apropos that I put this on because I've been giving you lessons in toughening up. I want to go over, let's just go over some of the fundamental backdrop here, okay? First of all, I don't know if you saw this, but yesterday General Motors announced that in January it will be shutting down 5 of its manufacturing plants because of excess inventory. All right, so General Motors is shutting down 5 of its manufacturing plants, not permanently, temporary, but excess inventory. So sales are not keeping up with their inventory, their production. That's number one. Number two, Boeing announced an additional round of layoffs. Another 8% of its workforce they are going to cut. Now, against that backdrop, you also have, we saw last week, retail sales in November were down year over year for the first time since 2008. And 2008, of course, was affected by the Lehman meltdown. Usually November retail sales in the United States are very strong because we have Thanksgiving and then everybody goes crazy. That's the blast off of the official Christmas holiday shopping season, Black Friday, all that stuff. But we had weak sales. Industrial production, negative year over year. Housing starts dropped sharply, 18.7% in November. Building permits dropped, I think about 10 or 11% in November. So there you have some information there that to me does not paint a very strong picture of the economy. Now, all this year leading up to very recently, every time there was some sort of a negative call on the stock market or people got very afraid and nervous, I said to ignore that because I said the fiscal flows are strong, bank credit was growing at a decent pace, and we actually I was able to point to decent economic numbers and in fact accelerating economic numbers. Oh, by the way, let me add one more thing into that sort of the negative slew of data that I just gave you. You had in October the trade deficit ballooned out to a 4-month high. And by the way, that October number there on the trade deficit, that didn't even take into account this big dollar spike that we've had recently. And remember, the trade deficit is a subtraction from GDP. So most likely that trade deficit's going to balloon out even wider in November and December, which means that the growth outlook for GDP in the fourth quarter, I don't know, we had a 3.2% third quarter. The Atlanta Fed has this thing called GDP Now. You can go look it up on their database. They predict, and they're looking at a 2.5% growth rate for the fourth quarter. So that's roughly a 25% slower rate of economic growth. Yet the S&P is up 5% from where the third quarter ended. So, I mean, a lot of this stuff, it just doesn't add up, not to mention, I talked about Trump's picks. He's got this Mickey Mulvaney now. This guy is a super hardline fiscal hawk, Republican congressman from South Carolina. This guy wants a balanced budget amendment, which if that passes, and let me just go on record, I am making this prediction that one day, we will see a balanced budget amendment to the Constitution, and it's just going to be a shame when that happens. I mean, it'll make America, really look like Europe or Greece. We're gonna put, constraints on ourselves that just don't need to be there. These people are fundamentally misguided. They don't understand fiat money, and nor does most of the public. And that's the main reason why I think it's going to pass. The public thinks it's a good thing, because they look at the government like a household, or they look at it like their own personal finances, and that's a completely inapplicable analogy. So, hey, I like my hat. There you have it. Just a little backdrop, and that's why I think the stock market is due for a correction. I think the real value area for the S&P right now, if things just, the way they are, I'm not saying, if there is, I think it's about 2180 not 2270 or whatever, or 2160, something like that, between 2160 to 2180. And that's if we don't go in a recession. But now you're having these corporate cuts, these plant closings, these layoffs coming in 2017, right in January. So I don't know. I just don't know. All right, see you later, everybody. Bye-bye.